Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel, Reading Ideas. This is a tag. I've been tagged by Book Chat with Pat, lovely lady, and the tag is created by Aaron Read a Book, and he's come up with a tag where the tags are linked to Booktube channel names. So the tag is linked to the book channel that he likes and the name. So let's give it a go. So here's the first prompt is Books I'm Not Reading is the channel. So a book that's been on your TBR forever. And this book is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I worked on a second-hand bookstall as a young lad, helping pack up the books, and I used to get loads of books, read a lot, and you hear about War and Peace as if it's nothing as big as War and Peace. So I think I picked up a copy at some stage and thought of it as a bit of a challenge. And one night I came back from being out with friends, and I don't know whether it was as a bit of a punishment. I said to myself, you've got to try and read as much as you can before kind of falling asleep. And I got through a couple of chapters, and it was Countess this and Dinners that, and duels or whatever, and manners, and it was just like, yeah. I think I was pleased with myself for getting through a couple of chapters, but I put it down. I've not picked it up since. Now, I have read a big book this year, Count of Monte Cristo, which was great. So at some stage, I'll get around to War and Peace. Whew, yeah. 2, the channel Novel iDeea. And the prompt is a book with an interesting premise or plot device. That made me think of the book that I've just read, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. The whole book is about the plot device of, in Victorian times, Dr. Jekyll coming up with a potion, drinking the potion, and turning into Mr. Hyde. Now, I was aware of the book and a little bit of the basis of the story, but having read it, it's a bit more complex than that. We're all aware of, that we have not different personalities inside us, but, you can have different voices at different times. You can be slightly different people, around your parents as around your friends. And this idea of Robert Louis Stevenson's is that you could take a potion and it can separate out the different elements of your personality. Somebody with, he does have a more malevolent side, but it's just that idea of being able to take a potion and it's separating your personality out, and solidifying one aspect, making it kind of stronger as a whole person. So very, very interesting book, very, very interesting idea. The third channel is Revenant Reads. And the prompt is a book where someone has returned from the dead. And the book that it made me think of is the Holy Bible. Yeah, I don't think that there's any greater return from the dead story, is there? 4, CriminOlly, the channel CriminOlly, a book where a crime takes place. Now, with crime, I think of 2 authors, Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett. So this is the famous book and film, The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. Fabulous book, but anything by Raymond Chandler, Lady in the Lake, or by Dashiell Hammett. I mean, Maltese Falcon is almost perfectly written. So, The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. So, the fifth one, Book Time with Elvis. A book about time travel, or someone named Elvis. Now, I did try and look up books with authors named Elvis. I tried to do anagrams of Elvis, lives and evils. But, because there's H.G. Wells, Time Machine. I've not read a lot of science fiction. I've seen a lot of it on the TV, but not read a lot. So the actual pure time travel, it didn't make me think of one. But the book that it did make me think of is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. And there's a famous film based on it, Apocalypse Now. Now, in the book, the narrator of the book is sat on a boat on the Thames. So we're transported to Victorian times and the Thames and what it was like then. But as he describes it, he said, imagine being on this river as a Roman 2,000 years ago. You come from a hot country, and you've got a complex culture, and you turn up here and it's leaden skies, cold, fog. You can see the riverbanks, and if you get off the boat and go wandering over into the marshes, the bogs and the woods, the local painted savages will be set about you. So you travel back in time to Roman times, and of course you then go up the river, and you're trying to find somebody who is, from the Western culture, has got off the boat and gone amongst the savages, and what's he turned into. So yeah, that's a time travel book in its way. Fabulous book. Middle of the book March. Your favourite book that you read in March. Now, I don't have any choice on this, but it is a favourite. The Count of Monte Cristo, 1,243 pages. It took me March and a bit more, but what a book! What a book! Absolutely fabulous. I'd slightly hesitate to say to anybody, you must read this book. You must read this book. Yeah, no, it's a fabulous reading experience. Yeah, you got to be prepared to spend the time reading it. But what a fabulous book! It's the only thing I read in March, and a bit more. The seventh prompt is the channel Book Buds. A book with a great friendship. Now, the book that I'm choosing is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Now, the entire book is based on the friendship of two men, George and Lenny. George, watch out! He turned his back. Whispers. Oh, yeah. It's the book is based on that friendship, isn't it? I don't want to give away the plot, but you probably know the plot. So a book based on a great friendship, great in its way, Of Mice and Men. That's what it made me think of. Obscure book adventures, a book that you love that never gets talked about. So the book is the biography of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who obviously famously wrote Sherlock Holmes by Hesketh Pearson. Well, you know, I loved Sherlock Holmes as a book. It's, you know, it's what a work of utter genius. We've probably become so familiar with it, but imagine a world pre-Sherlock Holmes. It just doesn't seem possible, and you know, it's just so familiar now. But that was a genius creation, and this goes on about Sir Arthur's early life. My favourite bit is when he first becomes a doctor, and he comes across he's in his student learning how to be a doctor, Dr. Budd, who you know, Sherlock is partly based on. What a character. So yeah, so an obscure book. Yeah, it really is a good read if you can get yourself a copy. I don't know if it's in print or not, but definitely worth a read, obscure or not. The 9th prompt is the channel Savage Reads, a book with a monster or beast or human acting monstrous or behaving monstrously. Something a little bit different. Gary Larson cartoons. I think this is the first. Wildlife Preserves, a Far Side collection. Oh my word! He's obviously a genius. Absolutely brilliant. I'll do a bit more of a rundown at some stage. But most of them are monstrous in their way. His humour is quite dark. But some of them are utter genius. But you know, because it's a dark sense of humour, you know, if I read half of this or tried to read through all of this, by the end there'd be a bit of a residue of like, oh, yeah, I need a bit of a break from that. But his cartoons, monstrously brilliant. Yeah, definitely worth a look. It's a Far Side by Gary Larson. That's 10. A book that fits your own channel name. So the channel name is Reading Ideas, and it's a very thin book. This is what it made me think of. A Technique for Producing Ideas by James Webb Young. How to produce ideas. He worked in advertising. So yeah, it's a very, very good book. It's only short, so it'll be over quick. But this is, so how it started. One day in my last year as an advertising agency executive in Chicago, I had a telephone call from the Western advertising manager of a well-known magazine. He asked if he could see me immediately on a matter of importance. Shortly thereafter, he arrived in my office, somewhat out of breath. "We are having a meeting today," he said, "of our entire Western sales staff. Its purpose is to discuss how we can improve our selling. In our discussions, we have tried to analyse the selling methods of other successful publications and salesmen, and among these we have been particularly impressed by the success of Mr. Cobbler in his selling of the American Weekly. After studying just why he is so successful, we have come to the conclusion that it all rests on just one thing. He doesn't sell space, advertising space, he sells ideas. And so," he continued with enthusiasm, "we have decided that is just what we are going to do. From here on, we are not going to sell space at all. Beginning tomorrow morning, every single one of us is going to sell ideas." I said I thought that was just dandy, but wondered what it was that he wanted to discuss with me. Well, he said somewhat ruthfully, "we could see that what we ought to do is sell ideas all right, but after that we got stuck." What we are not clear about is just how to get ideas. So I said, maybe you could tell us. And that is what I am here for. You have produced a lot of advertising ideas. Just how do you get them? The boys are waiting for me to come back and tell them. So imagine that in a giant meeting. Yeah, we're going to sell ideas. Right, how do we get them? Go and ask James. Now I know that if I had not been so flattered by this question, and if my questioner had not been so obviously serious in asking it, I would have had a hearty fit of laughter at this point. So he kind of thinks, oh, it's a daft question. And he thinks, no, hang on a second. How do you produce ideas? And his book is his theory on how he discovers ideas and how you can too. Now, there's not many books around like that, is there? People discuss an idea, but not how you create ideas. That's definitely one. Definitely a keeper in your library. Okay, that's the tag complete. So I will tag some other people and hope that they enjoy the tag just like I've done. Thank you, Aaron. Read a book.